So recently, I've been doing a rewatch of Sailor Moon Crystal, seeing as it's been a whole decade, yes, decade, since it came out. The first time watching it was about being in this excited frenzy and seeing all of my favourite moments from the manga come to life on screen with the music and the voices and everything in between. And I've actually been enjoying watching it this time with no weekly delay between episodes. But with this subsequent watch, it's really made me think about all of the technical, behind-the-scenes process of adapting a work and everything that comes with that. Like what source material makes the cut, and how an anime can have different challenges to the manga medium, not just narratively but also visually. Like how in a manga you can just jump from scene to scene and not really know where it takes place, whereas with an anime you have the added challenge of connecting the different scenes via locations they connect to, and sometimes even coming up with completely new environments for scenes. All of these questions inspired me to make a series touching on the key differences found in the Sailor Moon Crystal adaptation of the Sailor Moon source manga. Things like major additions or changes that shake up the content of each act. I'll mostly try to keep it to the point of showcasing the key differences and not touch on minor changes that capture the same intention of the source material, like for example Usagi's rush to get ready for school having different choreography in the first scene of the manga versus Crystal. But I might not be able to keep to this rule, so bear with me. For reference, I'll be using the Eternal editions of the manga as my base for the source material. So with all of that boring intro stuff out of the way, let's start with Act 1 of Sailor Moon, Usagi Sailor Moon. So immediately in Sailor Moon Crystal, the beginning of the episode has an added scene not in the manga, a dream sequence with Serenity and Endymion acting as a prelude of events to come. This was probably added in because of the director stating in an interview that as the original story was complete, they could weave in moments from later on in the story throughout the production. I'll put the translated article in the description below. Usagi rushing to get ready for school retains the same vibe as the manga, but I like that Crystal added the little scene of Usagi crashing down the stairs in her rush. It just amplifies how clumsy and chaotic she is. The next addition is a new scene revealing Jadeite summoning the monster of the episode and his intention of gathering the silver crystal being revealed earlier on in the act. A similar scene happens at the end of Act 1 in the manga instead. In the scene where Usagi has to stand in the school corridor as punishment for being late, she now also daydreams about how being a princess would allow her to not have to attend school and references the dream she had at the beginning of the episode. When Usagi and Mamoru meet for the first time, instead of their meeting just being combative over Usagi's hair buns and her test score, we also get this familiar lingering gaze between them, adorned with dreamy bubbles, solidifying a connection between them. This is furthered by the addition of Usagi saying that her heart is still pounding after their meeting, before following the manga's dialogue of criticizing him over wearing a tuxedo in the middle of the day. After Usagi's busy day, she takes a nap to ease her stress. In her dream, she sees herself as Sailor V saving Motoki and Luna. In Crystal's version of events, her dream features scenes of her as Serenity running with Endymion. We then see Sailor V herself in a video game setting beating a boss to save Luna, who Usagi recognizes from earlier. When Usagi transforms into Sailor Moon, she also has a fancy eye mask that allows her to see where Naru is. Unfortunately, that accessory is cut in Crystal, so we only get the scene of her hearing Naru in trouble. As you'll mostly notice in Crystal going forward, graphic and creepy content has been significantly watered down, and this is first evident here in how much more scarier the monster looks in the manga compared to the anime equivalent. While her face is less creepy in Crystal, she's still very beastly looking. Added on to the last change, the enemy's violent actions have been toned down, with the manga showing them smashing glass bottles and lunging at Sailor Moon, versus Crystal having them simply lunge at her. Not the end of the world, but the stakes feel a little less serious. Quick side note, But I love seeing when certain moments are adapted and storyboarded in unique ways, like how Tuxedo Mask appears in the broken shards of glass from Sailor Moon's ultrasonic wave scream to tell Sailor Moon to fight, versus just having him yell out to her in the manga. It's interesting seeing the difference in visual storytelling between formats. The death of the monster is portrayed in a slightly different way between the two formats, with her being straight up decapitated in the manga after Sailor Moon uses Moon Tiara Boomerang on her, versus Crystal taking a slightly more tame approach and having the tiara reverberate through the body of the monster. She still ends up turning into sand in both versions though. Different approaches, same outcome. There are some things that just look grander in the manga because of the ability to pause, appreciate and breathe, flow of it all, where there is also less need for fast-paced, visual, play-by-play continuity, and we see it here in this gorgeous shot of Tuxedo Mask flying away, with his cape beautifully blending in the night sky. Unfortunately, we don't get this effect in the Crystal version, but I guess it was hard for him to realistically hold that pose while aligning precisely with the night sky. While Usagi still fawns over Tuxedo Mask in Sailor Moon Crystal, it doesn't feature this comedic scene from the manga where Luna gets her first taste of Usagi's mind. And in a new final addition to this first act, Sailor Moon Crystal treats us to a small preview of the next Sailor Senshi to join the fold at the end of the episode. And that was Act 1 completed. What did you think of the changes between the two formats? Let me know below and see you for the next chapter.